It's Laura Ingraham, and she's here on our curvy couch.
Good to see you guys.
Let's get to talking here. So from Benghazi to Clinton Cash, Hillary Clinton now saying, look, I didn't understand. She's in a pickle here because she's either going to have to put herself in an incompetent category or a deceitful category when it comes to the 20% of uranium from the United States that was handed over to Russia. Okay. And now she's denying that she knew anything about it at the time. Your take?
Well, I was watching that local interview she did yesterday in New Hampshire. And the great thing about Hillary is no matter what question she's asked now, it's always this, right? We always smile through the answer, which is very smart of her. But she always says, there's no basis in fact in that. I mean, this all happened before I was Secretary of State, and this isn't the partisan drumbeat we've become accustomed to. And she always says now, I wish we had an hour to talk about all this, and then I'd just debunk all the myths.
And that's what she said, quote, this WMUR in New Hampshire. I don't know if we have enough time in this interview to debunk all of the allegations made by people who are wielding the partisan axe, but there's no basis for any of that. There were 9 government agencies who had to sign off on that deal. I was not personally involved because it was not something the Secretary of State did. Speaking of partisan acts, sounds like you're wielding it right now.
Well, she actually said that the point is that as all these agencies signed off, how could I possibly have controlled this? And she said, I wasn't there. Now, the appearance of impropriety question was also asked by that very good reporter in New Hampshire. And she again just passes it off that this is just more partisan drum beating. I would say for Republicans, they should be a little careful on this because if they think they're going to win on sort of the drum of the Clinton scandals, I think they're going to be disappointed. I think this is all baked into the cake already. People, I think, believe that there was an appearance of impropriety, and maybe something was in those emails that magically disappeared. Maybe not. We'll never know.
And Peter Schweitzer weighing in this morning, by the way. He says, quote, the transfer of 20% of U.S. uranium, the stuff used to build nuclear weapons, to Vladimir Putin did not rise to the level of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's time and attention. Beyond being an admission of extreme executive negligence on an issue of utmost national security, Hillary's statement strains credulity to the breaking point for at least 3 other reasons. And he goes on to say that, look, there were 8 other government agencies that were signing off on this, but she runs the State Department.
If Mrs. Clinton said, I want this done, who's going to buck Mrs. Clinton? Who's going to buck her in the Obama administration, except the President of the United States himself? And we don't think that happened. It didn't happen.
Here's your X factor to what your point is. It's going to be she said, he said, and partisan Republicans, and except if there's a Sidney Blumenthal-like email trail to recipients that have received it, or if whoever might have hacked her personal email starts exposing some of it. Because clearly there's a communication path that no longer exists.
But to Laura's point, some of this is baked in the cake. And if you look at the Wall Street Journal poll, basically people are saying they're satisfied with the Clinton-Bush election. 67% satisfied, 31% dissatisfied if it's Bush v. Clinton.
Let me unpack that. I think that's slightly misleading. The graphic is pretty, but it's slightly misleading. Let me tell you why. Because of Republican voters, guys, only 34% of GOP voters are either fairly or very satisfied with a Bush versus Clinton matchup. But the Democrats, that's why the number's up, it's 56%. So while the Democrats, Mrs. Clinton is the golden ticket. But for the Republicans, I think there's a great sense of anxiety and unease about the direction of the Republican Party, who runs it, whether it really represent the interests of the people or the interests of the donor class.
Can they beat Hillary?
Yeah, who's filling the vacuum to beat Hillary then?
Well, right now in this poll, I think we can say that Hillary Clinton, if this poll is accurate, it's not good news for the top 3 people. She beats Jeb by 8 points nationally. She beats Marco by 10 points nationally. She beats Walker by 14 points nationally. She wins in Florida, Ohio, and I believe the other states they did. She wins in every single state that's a battleground state so far. But it's early. I mean, that's just one poll.
Can you give me the Laura Ingraham early 3? Give me the 3 people in your top tier.
I think Scott Walker is probably a little bit closer to that Reagan conservatism that seems to animate right now where the base is. Right. But Jeb Bush has the money. Marco Rubio has the charisma. Scott Walker has some room to make up here.
Let's talk about the state of South Carolina and Charleston. Devastating, hate-filled, racist murders there that took place in the church. They have handled it extraordinarily well. Nikki Haley, the governor there, actually removed the Confederate flag from public viewing. What's your position on her decision?
Well, I think, look, she had to do that, and there's no doubt about it that the Republicans and Democrats standing together was an amazing message to the country. I will say, however, though, that I don't think that's going to stop racism in the United States. I think it, for the moment, will make us all feel a lot better.
Do you have a problem with it, though?
Well, the only thing I have a problem with is people thinking that this is a solution. I think this is a cosmetic, it's a Band-Aid on what is obviously still a problem in our country. But I think there is also another problem, which is we have a lot of hopelessness in America today. We need to restore true hope, not the Obama fake hope, but the true hope to people, which is their lives can get better, they can get jobs, they can be treated like human beings, regardless of the color of their skin, and make their lives better for their families.
Speaking of that, Donald Trump on Fox last night says, here's his solution.
You would have thought with an African-American president, if at a minimum you would have thought that he would have been a cheerleader for the country, and frankly, it would have been a lot better. But it hasn't worked out very well. It's probably as bad as it's ever been. So it is a big problem. One of the things you have to do is get the country working again, get jobs, create jobs, take jobs away from China, take jobs away from Mexico and all the other places that are taking our jobs. People have no place to work.
What about what you said, hopelessness? People
I think
want
there
to
is. I
feel...
think, look, the racial divide that clearly has gotten worse under Obama, and I think he's partly responsible for that, frankly. It's not just at the hands of some crazed racist killer like this 21-year-old in South Carolina. There is an underlying sense that something in America has gone wrong. The system is either rigged, or the rich people keep getting richer in the middle of the country, and the poor people just can't get a break. And it's not government handouts, I think, that most people want. I think most people just want a fair shot at a decent job.
Well,
and I think that would go far, not all the way, but it would go a long way to helping people think that the country is still the land of opportunity.
And guess who speaks about that? Bernie Sanders and Governor Perry.
Right? And Bernie Sanders has sellout crowds. Why do you think? Not because he's, the funniest guy on the trail, but because he touches those issues, I think, that in the minds of many, the kind of mainstream.
Hey, there's Wall Street who got bailed out, and
they did well,
didn't,
right? And that's fine. I mean, it's fine for the rich people to get rich, but that's not a sustainable situation for capitalism or the free market if just the wealthy continue to get better and do well. In South Carolina, we still have a high unemployment rate, although interesting, among African Americans in South Carolina, I think it's the second best level of employment for black Americans in the country.
Can I ask you something and put you in an awkward spot a little bit? Working, sitting next to Ed, was it okay?
It was, isn't he out cooking or something on the plaza?
Yeah,
You guys are playing bocce. I want to come to the bocce ball. I want to play bocce.
Are you mocking our format? How dare you?
Exactly. No,
I'd like to end on a little bocce swimming pool obstacle.
exactly.
Yeah, she was in a bathing suit.
Coming up next, Laura
Dunking
Ingraham
for
in the pool.
apples.